We're doing this from my co-working space. This is Hugo. And
Hello.
Today we're going to be delving into all the behind the scenes and screens of running a business, what it's really like and what we don't really see on social media. And so, really thankful that you're here. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. I feel an honour.
Oh, no, not at all. But it's great to talk to other people in like food and drinks and just hear your perspective on what it's like. So for everyone, if you could just introduce yourself, explain a bit about your business.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
go from there.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Hugo. So I founded Nuisance Drinks. We make sort of premium sparkling botanical soft drinks. And yeah, I basically left my job in finance and started picking stinging nettles. In 2019, registered the nuisance, February 2020, just before COVID. It was kind of inspired by my mum's nettle cordial, so a drink that we made at home when I was growing up, making drinks out of nettles, and it sort of seemed amazing to me that nettles, like a plant so abundant throughout the UK, we're all pretty familiar with, being a nuisance, hence the name, are used for sort of nothing more than the odd kind of forager's soup and that sort of thing. So I was keen to kind of try and make this drink on a bit of a bigger scale. February came, registered the business, March came, and the world locked down. But I started by sort of picking nettles, practicing lots of different recipes and things. I live up in Edinburgh, so it was just using nettles from this estate outside Edinburgh, like 6,500 acre, amazing sort of estate house. And I would just spend days out in their fields picking nettles, and then I'd come back home every night with like bin bags full of nettles over my shoulder. And this cafe that was sort of locked down let me use their basement kitchen because I needed like a kitchen space, and I would just stand there with like Breaking Bad style, cooking out my nettle brew every night, and that's kind of how I started it for quite a while. Like you were saying, cooking your nut butters at home, that's kind of how I did it at the beginning as well, and just realised I couldn't really scale it up that way, but it was a nice kind of romantic start. Now we've got 3 flavours, not nettles, not all nettles. We've got nettle and elderflower, minced cucumber and chilli, and a wild bramble and rosemary. So they're all kind of British countryside inspired flavours. We've managed to keep the nuisance theme, so the brambles and the mints being, can grow everywhere, being invasive, but not sure how much longer we can keep that going the whole way through. That's where we're at the moment. So we've got the 3 flavours, and we've got about 200 stockists in the UK, and it's predominantly lots of farm shops and delis, and probably similar places to where you're at. Cafes and things like that as well.
So you mentioned that you went just before lockdown. So you have this idea, you think, I'm gonna leave your job and go for it. What was that burning mission that you think you were suddenly like, oh my god, this has to be something I do?
So in the last year I was in asset management, doing sales, and I really enjoyed it, to be fair, but the last year of the business I was at was quite a tough year. They were selling the business, it was very obvious that was happening. So I think people were a bit demoralised at work and stuff, and I just, rather than selling, I got a bit frustrated just selling a product that was made or run by someone else, so investments in the stock market. And I just wanted to create my own product and then sell that. And I'd always been really interested in food and drink, I was trying to work out what it was that I was going to do, and so I was like, Mum's recipe, I'll steal that.
It's so interesting coming from like a drink perspective, because obviously I work in food and I know they cross over, but I can't even imagine how you would go down the beverage route and like making it. In fact, I can't. Just then when you're talking about picking nettles, I'm literally picturing picking nettles, and I'm like, I don't know where I would go. How you do it?
I was lucky I had Mum's sort of base recipe to start with, and then we just kind of tinkered around that a bit. It's like elderflower, really.
Mm-hmm.
It was very simple, to be honest. I quickly realised that I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And
I feel like that's any founders.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of mistakes along the way. And soon, having been in this industry a bit longer, I realised that no one makes their own drink. They're all made with natural flavours and extracts that we buy from suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
People don't just go and make all their own drinks like I was doing. It's not really that feasible to scale it up. Which is why I then went to some recipe developers, and they helped me develop these recipes using now natural ingredients and stuff that we now buy in. But it took me a while to get there. So I got to sort of like winter of the first year, 2020. I'd made 5,500 bottles at the time we were doing in bottles, and so many breakages along the way. That was another story. And basically, I sold all those 5,500 bottles into like local farm shops and things to Edinburgh. And then I got to the winter and I'd run out and there were no nettles left. It was winter. Who knew that nettles just grew in like spring? I'm a bit of a professor of nettles these days. Something I never thought I'd be saying. But yeah, so then it was over that kind of period, I didn't have anything to sell. Went, 4 or 5 months without any kind of revenue. But it was that kind of time of that period I raised a bit of investment and then developed these flavors and did like the rebrand, and that's the bit I'm like most proud of. I think our branding is really awesome.
Yeah, it is amazing.
It's cool.
And so at this time, so just going back to again 2020, did you make a business plan?
Yeah, I did. I'm probably getting told off for not being good at planning. I'm more of a winging it kind of guy.
No, because I was going to say, follow if you did, because like I didn't. In fact, I don't even know if I still have one. But would you say where you are now then, has it followed that trajectory or where you thought you might be at this stage?
No. I mean, I did make a business plan, but it was, having not been in this industry at all before, I think it was just so far wrong from what it probably was really like. But at least I had sort of a rough plan. But because I'm based up in Edinburgh, Scotland are really good actually at giving businesses support. And there's this thing, Scottish Enterprise, and you can go to kind of classes and stuff, and they'll help businesses put together business plans and things like that, all free. So that was really helpful. So I think I did do a few then. But they were, if I looked at them now, I think that probably is complete rubbish.
I mean, I thought I was going to be in New York like 3 years ago, so whatever yours said, I'm sure.
But I put together now, I tried to raise investment and stuff, so now we put investor decks together, and then also some, I guess more sort of business plan. But I've got my sort of saving graces and the business to investors, two directors, and one of them, Julie, who's amazing. Julie, shout out. She's got a great sort of retail experience. Was it waitress and booths and places like that. And she's always like, Hugo, you need to plan. You need to like put a strategy together and a plan together. So it's good having someone like that around because otherwise, it would just be following my tail, I think.
I was going to say, you need that encouragement.
Yeah.
Okay, so where you are now, would you, as like a personal development, would you say? I know we've like you said that we're going to talk about like mental health and things. Yeah. How has it been running a business, firstly by yourself and then taking on a director? Yeah, so brutal is probably the one word. It's not as beautiful and as amazing as it might look like behind the camera sometimes. I was saying to you earlier, I'm sort of more of a, I'm a people person, I guess, enjoy this kind of stuff. Doing that by yourself and then kind of getting lost in your own head a bit is really hard, and you don't have someone there just to like spitball ideas with and stuff like that. So I really struggled with it all. I took a bit of time out of business at the beginning of this year because really kind of hit a bit of a low and struggled with it. But I think, and I was all ready just probably quit day, to be honest. I mean, if it wasn't for Julie, because she was pretty inspirational and just kind of really motivated me to just keep going with it. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, I just, even when it feels like it's not going that well, or if revenue's a bit bad, I'm having a bad month or whatever, I'm still like, no, I think like I'm like way more positive looking forward now than I was a year ago. Yeah. A year ago was brutal, but it's like feels like all the conversations now that I'm having, all the leads I'm speaking to, they're like big companies that if something pulls off, it'd be huge. Whereas 6 months ago it was, I'd be like popping into another little deli or another little cafe and you'd sell three cases, and then you might get an order 3 months later or something. Whereas now it's hopefully like much bigger groups I'm trying to target. Yeah. If you don't mind me asking this, so this time last year when you said that's when you kind of hit a low, what was it that you think triggered that? It was
So
you don't have to say right now. I don't want to put you on the spot.
No,
you can like more generally, like what would you say are the factors?
I think there was one thing in personal life which kind of coincided with it, and then work life I think was just, I was getting up at like 5:30 every day. I start work at 6, and I was just like pushing myself, and I just kept going, and then I go to gym, but then I carry on working, and I was like, I was pretty ridiculous with it, and I wasn't like resting, and I worked like last summer, particularly doing it by myself. I did so many festivals, or like not festivals, farmers markets, some events, some festivals, so many weekends. So sometimes I'd work like 2 weeks in a row without a day off and stuff like that. And then I just think I was almost just blocking out any tiredness or whatever, and then came to Christmas and I just broke down basically. It was really tough. But I think and I've always been so open about it with friends and stuff, and I've been like, yeah, I'm seeing a therapist or whatever. That was kind of the best things that I could have done, and as I said, I was ready to just call it a day. But I look back now and I'm now, and I think that fear of failure as well. I was saying to you earlier, I was just worried that a couple of years doing it, and you're like, I'm a failure. Like, this isn't working. I'm a failure.
Well, I think it's hard, especially in business, because there isn't actually like a tangible reward. Do you mean you can't be like, when I work this amount for 3 months, by that 3 months I'm going to, go and sit with the manager and talk about like a promotion or something. Yeah. It's very much, you tread on eggshells a bit of like, where am I going next? Yeah. And then you might get through to like a final round of a conversation, and they might be like, actually no, we're not going to go forward, and you're kind of back to square one, but it's you that takes the grunt.
There's no one else to share it with.
When you don't have another person, or even just someone to bounce ideas off, it's so easy, I think, to like exactly what you said, get lost in your head. And speaking from experience, like overthinking or like thinking just in hearing my voice is my biggest demon, because if it's not good enough, that's all I hear. And then if it's good, I'm like, no, it's fine, but it's still, it's all a derivative of yourself, which is so difficult to sit with.
The lows are like solo, and when you're solo by yourself, it's pretty tough to take. And then when you get a good win, it's like, oh great, but then there's no one else to sort of share it with it. So the other thing where I think I feel a lot better with it this year is my friend and now colleague joined me in sort of April time, after I took a month out, I went to Portugal, took a break from it as much as I could, but he joined me in April, and it was meant to be just 3 or 4 months until August, and he had a job with Diageo starting September, and then he just decided to stay on. So Guy, thank you.
Another shout out.
I'll take you down with me. But it's just doing it with him has been a lot more fun, and it's I think we're kind of like, he's one of my best mates. We're kind of idiots together, but there's kind of like, there's no stupid suggestion when you're between friends, because we'll always be taking the mick out of each other anyways. So we'll say something dumb, and it's like normal life.
Yeah, there's like an honesty between you that you can be like, yeah, let's think a bit now, that's also good.
You idiots, and forced a dumb suggestion. Yeah, so you don't really mind that, whereas if you like employ someone you can really talk to. Probably people might be a little nervous to say these kind of suggestions. But it's I think it's, as you were saying earlier as well, it's sometimes I felt like I was just chasing every lead and opportunity, and it was because you're like, oh, where do you want to sell your drinks? And I'm like, here, anywhere that'll take them. So you just start, like, I don't know, I wasn't that focused. I was kind of like scattergun approach, trying to sell into anywhere. And I think that caught me, as I said, just sort of chasing my tail, just really sporadic kind of. Whereas now I'm trying to be like, no, our drinks will be really awesome in like premium cafes, kind of brunch spots, offices, places like that, and now I'm just trying to think, right, that's the focus. And if other things come my way, fine, we'll reply to them. But that's kind of, whereas before I would just run around, just drop samples into anywhere, basically. Now I'm much more like, and the amount of samples you drop off and just never hear anything back from people, or you can't, or they're like, oh, I didn't try them, and I'm like, I gave them to you, like, where have they gone?
Yeah, I actually feel like I find that really challenging, that side, when they're like, yes, well, please, like, send us samples. I'm like, great, okay, send samples, follow up maybe 2 weeks later after countless emails, and they're like, oh, we're not reviewing the category, and I'm like, sorry, so why did you ask for samples in the first place? Like, that makes me quite sad, because it's not like I enjoy just sending out free product.
I'm now just sending out I'm now just sending out so much free stuff like all the time, because I kind of see it as like I'd much rather send out like £200-300 worth of free product to, you know, various places than pay £200-300 for like an advert in a
Agreed. Yeah, it is true. And there's a difference when people when they actually see a product. I feel like it just instills something else in their head. Yeah. They don't just see it on an email like, oh, what's this about? They actually have it and be like, oh, wow,
I think like that's something for both of us. I mean, I'll say it, you know, I think your branding is amazing, and I think for both of us, that's something that we just need the products there for people. And COVID was obviously, you know, a real battle for that. You can go out and give people products really to try and stuff. But yeah, the more you can just get it in people's hands, I think the better.
And it is just I think it is just a chasing game. Like anyone I've spoken to or continue to speak to, there is no solution, unfortunately. And I feel like now that people are working from home more as well, we don't have personal addresses. So like before, I used to just turn up at like Whole Foods office and just be like, hi, here are some samples, knowing they were there. Whereas now it's harder because if the person that I want to receive doesn't work in the office and they live somewhere else, it's a bit more risky. So it's hard to get it in front of them.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
So if you like those tactics that you found really helped when you're suddenly like hit a bit of a low, or you're like, I don't know what to do, what would you say are your like top tips of advice now if you hit a bit of a mental break?
Just listen to your body. I like sometimes if I'm like exhausted, like I flew back, I've been travelling around so much but I had a wedding down south, so it was fun, but it wasn't all work. But yeah, I flew back up Monday night to Edinburgh and got in at sort of 11:30 or 12 or something, and I was just absolutely exhausted, and so I just made sure I woke up at like 8 and just didn't like rush myself in the morning and just took it a bit more chill. And I'm trying to say to the guys on my team as well. So yeah, like I said, work with Guy. I've also got 2 other colleagues, Nad and Adam, and that's brilliant. We found them through a sort of Scottish scheme again. Scots are quite good at stuff. They're helping out with us at the moment. But I basically said to like work flexibly. If you guys need a bit of time, you know, if you want a longer morning but you want to work a bit later or something, do that. And so just trying to be quite flexible. And also I'd beat myself up massively if I was like felt like I'd previously, you know, if I felt like I'd I don't know, like not work that hard on a day. I mean, I still do this actually, to be fair, I do beat myself up, but I'd be like, can't do this, like you're meant to be kind of trying to create a business, like why, like it's never going to happen if you're rubbish, or if you're not putting in enough time or energy, and I would just get so angry with myself.
I mean, I've been there. I mean, I still do that. I was exactly the same.
But yeah, I think it's definitely my body. Like I need sleep. I think when I'm like struggling on sleep as well.
My sister says everything is hard when you're tired. She's like, no matter what, it's like whenever you're tired, then everything is.
Last year, my sleep was absolutely awful, and I think that's what sort of like that was a big reason for you know breaking down basically. But and I guess sleep's like a form of torture, like the army, things like that. You know, that's what my dad always said to me. So trying to like get sleep right is really important, and luckily I'm sleeping a lot better nowadays. But that's a lot of it, I guess. Yeah, listen to your body, and your mind. I mean, reading as well. And really, it's like I don't know. I should try. I now try not to watch too much TV as much as I used to before going to bed and stuff. But I feel like my mind would be everywhere, so I'd be going to sleep and I'd just be thinking about like one thing and another thing, and actually then just starting to like once you get absorbed in a book, it might take me like 5-10 pages to get like to stop thinking and actually start taking in the words a bit. But then once you start getting absorbed in like a good book, you can't think about other things. Whereas I mean, like if you're watching TV, you can be on your phone doing emails and things like that. Whereas I think if you're reading a book, like you are fully in that.
Yeah, thinking. So that escapism as well. It's like I'm just here. I'm going to be present in this book. Where you can so easily be like reading it, like I didn't even take that page in, so I'm still thinking about what.
I do that a lot.
So what are your, talking about like being on your phone and things, what are your thoughts about like social media for business and marketing?
I'm so bad at it. Obviously it's brilliant, something we need to harness more. We don't do enough of it, and it's just one of those things where, as you said, you're like juggling so much stuff, trying to do everything by yourself with a colleague. Sometimes like the last thing you want to do is put a nice post on social media. It's just like the last thing that sort of comes to mind. And then sometimes I go like, a week is 10 days, and you're like, oh, I really need to put a post up or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to be a bit more like rigorous on it. And also, it's so good if you can just be really like engaging with your people like kind of following the startup journey, I think, and seeing like a founder behind the camera. Someone who's amazing at it was a friend of mine from university, Amelia Christie Miller, who does Bold Bean Company. And Amelia, like, I feel like her Instagram's phenomenal, and she's always on it. You know, my selfie camera on my phone has been broken for about a year, so no, I don't really do much of it myself. But yeah, I definitely need to do more of it. It's great. We tried doing like paid ads and things, and they just haven't really paid off for us at the moment.
So
just really struggled with it.
Really hard to know. Like even the other day, I boosted a post that I posted on like Monday or something, and like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Literally nothing, to the point of I was like, I don't even know if actually it went through, and if it did, I'm like, oh my god, that is so like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I think there's you almost need like experts to do it for you, but then everything costs so much, so you're trying to just like
do it on a budget, then you're like, oh, but then I can't because
I'm definitely now I think more now, like time is money a lot more. So I'm like, right, if I used to just be like, I'll try and do it. And then one of like designing a website or whatever it might be, actually if I try and do that, it might take like 2 weeks of my time, as is in more, you know, make more sense to just outsource some of these things.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that.
But we're on a tight budget, so it's tough.
Mm-hmm. And what's your personal relationship with social media like? For example, like I know that I have to limit it sometimes, because if I go on like the Nutblend one, I can be having a great day, literally see a photo which, as we know, is not always as it seems, and I will take it face value, and I'm like, damn, like they've just done this, they've done, why aren't I? And then it's that little voice again in my head of like kind of beating myself up for not being where they are, even though it might be a completely different path. But I find that quite hard to not compare.
I went so. Yeah, sorry. I deleted Instagram sort of like Christmas time last year, and I think I deleted it from my phone. I had it, but I think I just deleted it from my phone for like 3 months or something, and it was so good. But then it was when I went to Portugal, and everyone was like, hey, what's your Instagram? And I was meeting people and stuff, so then we started... I re-downloaded it and stuff, and then you start being I've got way better at it. I think from having time at not having it on my phone, I actually need to delete it again though, because I've had it back on my phone, and then you just see yourself scrolling and thinking, what am I doing? But I'm not. Yeah, and actually on the Nuisance business one, I used to follow loads of friends on it, but I've kind of stopped doing that. I just follow some businesses and stuff, because again, it would be like, I delete my personal one, but then I'm following all my friends on my business one. And you're like, well, it's the same thing. Although guys now following all our friends on the business one now, so. But yeah, no, I'm fine. I do need probably to delete it again actually, because I do find myself mindlessly scrolling. Yeah, I think everyone does that.
It's funny because like I don't really go on my personal one at all, but I do. It's the business side one that I struggle with. So it's like I have to go on because I'm posting that. Yeah. And after 5 minutes, I'm like, how is it in 5 minutes I've managed to see something though that has made me now like question what I'm doing? And I'm like, 5 minutes, like what? So I find I don't know how I feel about social media. And people always say they think it's easier to run a business now because it exists and like all the tools that we have. So I guess because you've set up after me, so like back in the day I feel ancient now, because 2015 it was not, I mean this would have been able to happen. It was I found it a bit more authentic, I have to say. Like I was happy to kind of like do a selfie, do pictures, and it was very fun. And then I think as it got bigger I got a bit lost, but how do you think it has given you more opportunity?
Maybe. I think if you do it really well, then it can. We haven't really done it that well. It's fine, but yeah. And I look at other people's like Instagram pages and I'm like, wow, they look so professional. And then there's me, just like, I don't know. We need like a good marketeer. I think. I don't think any of us come from a sort of marketing background, but yeah. So sometimes it makes me feel like, oh, if only we were really good at it, maybe it would get us out there a bit more. Yeah.
What's your favourite part of running a business, and what's your least favourite?
My favourite bit is like sales, and that's what I did before and previously. And I love like this, before I came here. You know, I popped into a place like Mildred's and Farm Girl and various other sort of nice breakfast brunch places, and like the reaction. Okay, one of them, the reaction wasn't quite so friendly, but the other two were so nice, and they were like, oh, these look amazing and stuff, and I just love that when people are just kind of saying these kind of things. Who was that? Yeah, Ziggy Green, yeah. And the girl, like the woman there, was lovely that I met. So
I can see them there actually.
Yeah.
I can picture that.
Tell them that you're listening, Ziggy Green. Yeah, so I love that. I think it's like, it's when you get those responses and you're like, oh, I have done something kind of cool. Or like, and I guess that was that coming back to the mental health thing, the fear of failure. I just couldn't, at sort of, Christmas time last year, I could not see anything positive. I couldn't see the wood from the tree. My friends were like, you can be so proud of what you've done. And I was like, what have I done? I haven't done it. I haven't done anything. And they were like, you've done so more than any of us. And, you know, I guess I could have just carried on just sitting in my sort of corporate job and just continued in sales and finance all my life. And you basically will just do the same. You'll have skills in that skill set, but you will just do that throughout the whole, you know, rest of your career. Whereas now it's quite cool. Like, we have to do everything, which is rubbish, but also great for our own careers. So whatever happens with our businesses, it's I'm now see the much more positive side of things. Like, I've taken so much from this experience.
Because do you still have that fear of failure now?
Yes, I do, but I'm way more like, it's gonna be fine. Whereas last year, I'm useless.
But I think it is really hard actually to see that kind of like silver lining, and actually like I think that in itself, to be able to be like, no, you know what, I'm going to turn it around, is like an accomplishment in itself. Because I have exactly that same thought, and I mean again, any of like my friends or family, I'm like, I've achieved nothing, I haven't done anything. Like, if I'm not here where like I thought it was going to be like this massive thing, how can I be proud of it? Like, like you said, what have I done? I haven't done anything. It's so hard to flip that mindset and be like, actually, I can take away all these learnings and things, but until you're like aware of that thinking, it's really hard to challenge. It's difficult.
It's I think I then just got to a point, as I was saying earlier, I managed to raise a bit of investment, and some of it was from like previous connections in my old job, and friends and family and that sort of thing, and I was like terrified of, you know, if this doesn't work, and then these people have put their faith in me, and but I now look at it as like, actually, you know, they all believed in me, which is, you know, that's one thing, and also people hopefully aren't investing more than they could afford to potentially lose, and it's their decision ultimately. So if it works, then awesome, I'm so pleased. And it would be like rubbish if it doesn't. I hope it does, obviously. But I think everyone goes into that with the knowledge that, you know, whatever they're investing, they're prepared to, you know, potentially lose. Now I just think like, I'm way more positive. I don't know why. I don't know why.
I love it.
But yeah, I don't know. I look at like all the accounts I'm speaking with now, all the businesses. I'm like, if we get a win from one of these or two of these, whatever, it could be huge. And it could, each month, it could like month on month probably like treble our revenues. It depends on what the business is, but or more than that. And but it will feel slow burns. That's the tough thing. Is like I feel like on the end of my fingertips, some of these sales, and the month goes by, and they're not coming. But I think we'll get them. So.
And I think the beauty of like being a founder, well, maybe not all founders, but is optimism. I feel like optimism is like the biggest superpower, because it's having that like part of you that is like, it might be so, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then in 8 months, if it hasn't happened yet, you're like, no, but it's going to happen. It's like, it's that belief that you just keep going, because like at the beginning of this year I was like, by the end of this year I know we're going to have this account, these people are going to be buying from us. I haven't got any of them, but I still believe that give me another 6 months or something, because you just have so much passion for it. It has to.
I don't know, our products are so good.
What would your advice be for someone who's maybe watching this and either just starting up or just quitting their job and about to go into business, and like where you are right now, given that, what would you
get the best people around you possible, I think. As I was saying, I have 2 sort of board members, directors in business, non-execs, and they've been so helpful for me. So that's been brilliant. I was saying I was fully prepared just to call it a day, and Julie was phenomenal, and Bill as well. So that's been really helpful, just to like have people to kind of report into slightly, and then they can kind of keep you accountable to various things.
Where did you say you found them? How did you?
So Julie, actually, I pitched at like it's called Feed the Dragon, and it was like the Fine Food North show, a trade show up there. My speciality, fine food, and there was a panel of judges, and one was like Paul Hungry's from Cotswold Fair, Selfridges, who else was there? Selfridges, like a big farm shop up in Yorkshire, and Julie was one. She was at the time running a farm shop called the Keelan Farm Shop, which is a massive £10 million turnover farm shop. Did this pitch, went really well, and then sort of 3 or 4 months later, Julie got in touch with me and said that she was moving up to Scotland and had left a job at Keelan Farm Shop, and she remembered my pitch and wants to get in touch about sort of consultancy stuff. And then we had our chat we had sort of an hour and a half meeting, and they came out to it being like, that was one of the best, like most useful meetings. It was more for Julie to pitch her consulting services to me, and at the time being a really cash-strapped startup, I couldn't really afford it, but I just got back in touch with Julie and I was like, look, I just found that so helpful, everything we went through. Would you ever be, interested at all in being sort of a director of a business as a non-exec? So she kindly said yes, and it's great having like someone, having not coming from that background at all, with her retail experience at Waitrose and Boots and things like that. So helpful, like someone like her. And then Bill was an investor in the business. But yeah, he brings the sort of more business mindset to the game, I guess. Yeah, so that's how I found them. So I was quite lucky. But I think, finding some good people around you, and then I think the other thing is like, just don't get disheartened by all the cock-ups, because I've made so many mistakes. So the first like 5,500 bottles that we had made, they arrived. I was so excited. Obviously, I'd like spent months picking stinging nettles and making this nettle cordial, then sent it all off to the manufacturers. And all the bottles came back in these pallets. It was kind of towards the end of COVID time, and I opened them, and the first branding we tried to do was like a clear label around the bottle with sort of block text on it, so it looked quite nice, but the issue was that the drink was see-through, was like clear anyway, so the writing was, you couldn't read anything basically on the bottles, and 5,500 bottles labelled, and it was illegible. So I spent basically 2 months, pretty much, probably more. I would take off 5,500 labels of every bottle, and we got new labels printed, and I sat on a yoga mat in my flat every night watching TV or football or whatever it was, and I would take off new labels and put on them.
I feel like we've all been there. That
do you
takes me back. That's such what I do. So when I put a film and I'll be like, front and back. And the shelf life at the shelf.
So bad. And also in my first month of doing it, I got emailed by Selfridges saying like, oh, I love your drinks. We love your drinks. We'd love to launch them. And I was like, God, this is quite easy. Is that works? God, how different things could have been. That was sort of August last year, or July last year. So we launched the range in June last year, May, June. And I literally had that on LinkedIn from the buyer. And she said, can you send some samples in, set them in? And she said, yeah, this is awesome, we love them. I saw the order, it was pretty decent, there's like 100 cases of each or something in the first month or second month of doing it, so I was like, oh great. And then sent off, they had to do like label checks and everything. And at the time I'd had on our labels like low in sugar. Because if you looking online, anything, probably for yours as well, like if it says less than 5 grams per 100 ml of sugar is low in sugar. Selfridges came back to me and were like, unfortunately this claim's invalid, that's only true for solid substances, and for liquids it's a different measurement. And so I was like, oh God, we're going to have to take that off all our labels. I said, look, we're doing another run at the end of the month, can we wait until then, we'll take off all the labels. So the buyer was like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. And then it was the week of manufacturing, we had them all being made that week. And then you got an email at the end of that week from like the buyer at Selfridges being like, this is my last week at Selfridges.
Oh my gosh, the buyer's changed.
Yeah, the buyer's changed, and no response from any of the buyers ever since, basically.
I feel
it was ridiculous. And I was like, wow, how the last year would really
oh my gosh, I don't, because I feel like, I feel like the buyers change jobs as well, so as soon as they do, you're like, no,
yeah,
you gotta go.
Yeah.
I invested a lot of time into you, please don't leave me.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that, because that is, like you said, that is really disheartening when you're there, you're literally there.
I think also, like, at the time, I probably didn't realise how bad that was, because I was like, well, that's quite easy, I'll probably get another one in the next month or two. It came so easily, it was really weird. And now you like try email, phone call, everything, and you can never get heads or tails of it. Whereas back then, it was like, they approached me, never going to happen again.
Oh, you never would.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah.
What's one of the challenges that you're facing at the moment, would you say? Maybe that's something that people as well wouldn't know. So like if they do like see on social media or they know a bit about your brand, maybe something that is unseen to them. I mean, there might not be any.
No. God, there's loads. But I think one of the things is that, so I'm moving down to London, and I think one of the things is that up in Edinburgh, you feel a bit out of the scene slightly, and obviously Edinburgh's a great city, I absolutely love it up there, but particularly like the foodie scene down here, and London's just huge, there's a bigger population in London than all of Scotland, so I kind of feel like that's why I'm spending more and more time down here, but I sort of need feet on the ground down here a bit, so that's definitely a challenge. I think the other thing is having, you get a new stockist or whatever it is, and being able to do sampling somewhere. And I was trying to find people to help out samplings and things, but it's really hard to find anyone and to get it sort of all done effectively. So I kind of wonder if we're doing it in the right way. I'm not really sure. The really big challenge as well is just finance. Like we, got X amount in the bank left, and you're like, right, that's going to get us to however far down the line. Then what happens? So it's like, trying to find investment or investors impossible. And that is definitely one side of the business where I'm like, God, if only I'd love to just run a business where you weren't reliant on investors. And it was just like, you made profit and you could reinvest, you made profit and reinvest. So yeah, finding people who are like keen to invest, who have the cash to do it as well, really tough. And then I guess as well as that, cost of living crisis is pretty brutal, right? And no one, there's definitely fewer people going out into bars and restaurants. I don't know if it's connected, but I imagine it is. But all our wholesale orders through food service, so, a couple of our big wholesalers, predominantly doing cafes and restaurants and bars. The orders have like fallen off a cliff in the last 2 months for them. They were really good in July, August, and that might be because soft drinks in the summer obviously will do better, but I think it might be a combination as well. So yeah, cost of living crisis is quite.
And it's hard because I think, I've seen a few wholesalers even like stop trading.
Yeah.
So suddenly it is even becoming like a smaller
tree of life
group of So it's there's like fewer people to pitch to, but then there's also more demand for them. So it's then hard to get in front of them because everybody is trying to get in front of them. So it's challenging.
Are you with some good wholesalers?
At the moment, just one. I'm actually in conversation with another who, and trying to get with CLF.
Okay.
So in conversation with them now, but their margins are
and they ask for like a crazy listing fee.
And like marketing bundles, which I mean, marketing in itself, like the non-negotiable terms, I find very hard to sit with because I would like to have a say in what I'm able to commit, but it's difficult because it actually makes me question: is it right for us to say yes and just say like, happy to do that, but at the same time, it's not viable at all. So but I can't say no because the opportunity.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly.
I'm sat in this grey space at the moment of I need to really map out like what's best for us because it could be. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They were our first wholesaler at CLF, and it was a big old listing fee. It is. I was like, sure, we need them.
And it's scary. It's that fear of what. It's like the what if question.
Yeah.
So given where you are now and the journey you've been on, would you say that today you feel successful in your business?
Not yet. No, I feel like I've made like some awesome products. I love our branding. We just need to get sales up. So we just need to get them to the right places. That's why I'm really keen to be down here. So, for example, I was saying earlier, going into like Daisy Green and Mildred's and things. Up in Edinburgh, trying to do that, every time you phone or you speak to anyone, it would be like, can you email hello@, blah, blah, blah. And you'll never get a response. Whereas popping in there, both of them were like, oh yeah, the buyer is X. And they, at Mildred's, they were like, oh, he's in actually this afternoon. So I just gave him loads of samples because the one guy from Mildred's, which however many, I don't know, maybe 20 outlets, I don't know how many they've got. But he's going to be in this afternoon, so like having the feet on the ground down here is great. But yeah, I feel like we've got an awesome brand, cool product. Now we just need to make a success in terms of revenue.
I was about to say, would you say that would be your, like if I asked you in 2 years and you had booths, Waitrose, do you think then you'd be like, yes, because you have the sales? Or do you think there's something else that would make you feel?
I don't know, there's probably always something further, isn't there? It's like, not yet. Yeah, we don't have like a big retail listing, either supermarket wise or even like department store and stuff. So we really need to. It would be really nice to get some, a nice kind of department store or something. I'm not, because of how expensive it could be to advertise with if you got listed in Sainsbury's or something. I don't know how much budget you're going to need for that, but it could kill us as a business at the moment. So we're not really actively kind of going down that route. Although we do think we'd be perfect for Waitrose. It would be really nice if we had that kind of headache to have. And the thing is, if one of those supermarkets wants us, it might be quite easy to then raise some, not easy, but make life easier to raise some investment to help us do it. But
like you said, it could also be too early because if they then said, can you commit X amount, you might be like, actually, no.
And then, it cripples you or something. Or you get delisted and then you just don't get another chance. So it needs to be right at the right time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what success would look like. I mean, I'd love to see our drinks in sort of restaurants, bars, cafes all around the UK. I think that would be pretty cool. I go to so many restaurants and I look at their soft drinks menu and it is literally Coke and San Pellegrino or something. And you go, oh, have you got like some nice soft drinks? And they'll say San Pellegrino. I'm like, it's nice, but like everyone's got San Pellegrino. It's not premium, really. And that's a bit of it. I feel like there's such an opportunity there for like good flavoured premium soft drinks on a menu. And people are paying like £7 for an alcohol-free spirit or something, £8. I was like, well, you might as well just have a really good tasting.
Yeah.
I drank Seedlet from the bottle on Tuesday night. It is mad. Their branding is phenomenal. And basically that's what's made it for them, I think, because that branding is so good. But it's just sort of like, you would when you put tonic in with that, how do you know you're drinking? It's not like alcohol. It's like flavoured water. Yeah, I'd love to see our drinks all around the UK in like restaurants and bars and things, and people just to be like, well, we just don't need just Coke and Sprite anymore. We need something a bit more interesting.
Yeah. Okay, and final question.
Yeah.
Amongst all of the ups, downs, highs, lows, would you say that running a business makes you happy now?
Now, yeah. Gotta say that, don't I?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I have days and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? This is not making me happy.
Yeah, it's ups and downs for sure, yeah. There's days, like, you know, today's been so nice. You've got that freedom as well, so as I was saying, you know, I spent the morning just popping into lots of places, you know, and popping in here, doing this. Every day is so different, which is really nice. But yeah, as you say, like there's some days you're just sitting behind a laptop by yourself and going over things in your head and you're like, what am I doing? So it's ups and downs. And I think the grass isn't always greener, right?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I'll speak to my parents or something about this, but you kind of forget how much like freedom we have doing it by us, like for ourselves, because if you go back into another job, you might be expected to be in the office 9 till 6 and you wouldn't be able to pop away for a coffee with a friend whenever you want or whatever it might be. So there's definitely like perks and, you know, headwinds to it as well, whatever you call it. But yeah, no, it's good.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for joining me. Cool. I hope everyone has enjoyed listening to us. And I was actually going to say that does anyone have any questions, which I've never done before, which would be fun to kind of like give it to the crowd. But yeah, no, I really appreciate you joining me, and hopefully it's been really insightful for you guys. Maybe you're self-employed, setting up a business, or just really intrigued by what it's actually like hearing founders in the food and drinks industry. But yeah, any questions that you may think of afterwards, please message. Otherwise, thank you again. And hope to see you again and join us next time.
Thanks.
Bye.